Hey guys, welcome to Flock Around and Find Out. On today's video, we're going to be talking about bottle babies. It is definitely something that anybody that farms livestock ends up eventually having to deal with. In our case, we had one of our ewes that passed away, and we had one ewe that just was not a good mama. She didn't take this baby, so we ended up with two babies. We're gonna have to raise on a bottle. These guys have been on a bottle for a little while now. We're just gonna kind of go through the process, talk a little bit about what we do to get them to take the bottle, and we're actually gonna talk a little bit about bucket feeding as well. So this is the milk replacer that we use. It's Weaning brand. It's a lamb milk replacer. She'll take a little funnel, and it's got directions on the back of the bag, tells you how much to feed based on the age of the lamb. She'll take a little funnel it into a bottle, and then add warm water. The key thing is to make sure that water is warm. So these lambs that we're feeding now, they are right at about 20 days old. So we're gonna follow the instructions for the 15 to 21 days, 3 feedings per day, 1.5 to 2 cups of replacer total per day. Or that's per feeding, and it's 4.5 to 6 per day. So in the cold weather months in the wintertime, obviously we can't run hot water to the barn. We get frozen pipes, they'll bust, they'll leak. So she's got a little electric water kettle here, plugs it into the wall, warms the water. That's the easiest way we found to do this, to warm the water to mix this milk replacer in. Okay.
So I feed them 3 16-ounce bottles a day, but I also have them on a free feed bucket, so they know that there's milk in that bucket at all times. You have to break them to it, obviously, and I'll do, to get to 16 ounces, 8 ounces of boiling water and 8 ounces of cold water, and it seems to get it just at the right temperature for them. So these that I have found that work the best for lambs are called Pritchard nipples, or Pritchard teats. And instead of cutting the tip completely off, I take a little blade and cut it in like a little triangle, or not triangle, cross, like an X. So that way the milk flows, but when it's upside down, it doesn't leak. And they have to actually, learn to suck on it versus it just pouring down their throat. If you just have it pouring down, they can aspirate as you're trying to teach them how to use the bottle.
So as you can tell, these babies know what a bottle is already, but I want Jamie to talk a little bit about how to start a lamb on a bottle, how to teach them to take a bottle, how to nurse it effectively.
So what I do to start them, especially when they're real little, is turn them around so you can hold their chin. It's a little hard to tell this one because he's done figured it out, but
You just kind of cradle them, back their rear end back up against you so they can't go backwards, and just support their chin, raise it up a little bit.
You need their head at upward angle.
And this little lamb has figured it out. Both of these have.
You figured out the bucket. You're not hungry.
So we're going to talk about bucket feeding here in just a second too. A whole lot easier, a lot less labor intensive if you can actually get them to drink from a bucket instead of having to come out here multiple times a day and give them a bottle. So when you have a lamb that's in the pasture that either the mama's not making milk or it's not nursing for whatever reason, one thing you'll notice is how their belly kind of gets sunk in. Opposed to these guys, now that they just finished a bottle, they're real distended, kind of rounded. If you look at them from the top down, their bellies look full. So if you see a lamb that's bellies aren't rounded, don't look full, there's a chance that it's not nursing like it's supposed to. All right, so now we're going to talk about bucket feeding. What we talk about with bucket feeding is basically a less labor intensive process. It is literally a bucket and nipples drilled into it.
Some hot glue around the sides.
Basically, she actually just rigged up, put a little hot glue around them. I think they make actual like store-made nipples that attach to the bucket, but they do tend to be a little more pricey.
And they're big. They're like half size, not clam size. And so when you're putting them on a bucket, find milk that specifically says that it is acidified. So like on this one, it says instructions for bottle feeding, and then instructions for a feeding free choice, or it'll say free choice or in a bucket. And it says it's acidified. It keeps the milk safe for 24 hours. So you can either I feed it warm to begin with and just let it cool as the day goes on. They'll still drink it cold once they get used to it. Ideally, you would mix it warm and then chill it before you put it out. But it's cool enough here. As long as you change it and clean your bucket every day, you should be good. So all I did with these is I took the actual nipples that I bought and you just pop them out through the bottom, drill you a hole that's a pretty close fit, and then I put some just hot glue around the bottom. Like he said, you can buy them, but they're a couple $100, and for as fast as they go through them and chew these nipples off, I wasn't spending that kind of money. So I just mix up. This is about 34, 35 ounces of milk, which will be enough for them through the night. And I just pour it in the bucket. And as long as you keep it covered, I thought I had a lid for them, but I don't. I just put a little dish towel over top of them and tie it on there. And then I hang it in their pen. So these lambs are penned in the barn, so I don't have to go chase them down. Like Hobie said, one of them's mom died, and the other one just wasn't the best mom in the world. She kept leaving it. And so I have them up. But here, at about a month old, I turn them out with the rest of the lambs. And so I just have some carabiners, and I hang it at an angle to where they always have access to milk. And they'll come up and drink all they want throughout the day.
And do you cut the nipples on these?
I cut them the exact same as I do on the bottle. So crisscross, and it keeps them from dripping. If you cut the whole end off, they'll just drip and all your milk will go out.
You can actually see with the light behind us kind of the level that milk fills the bucket to through this bucket. Which, you know, if you had a lid, you'd take it on and off, check it each day. But with this being kind of somewhat translucent, you can see slightly through there. Gives you an idea of how much they're drinking. So tell them a little bit about how you teach them, how you get them started on a bucket.
So you have to break them to a bottle first, because they're not probably going to take to this if they don't know how to nurse out of a bottle. But once you get them on a bottle, then you start feeding them right up next to it. And if your nipples are the same, you can get them to pretty easily make that switch a lot of times. You'll probably have to sit here and hold them to get them used to drinking out of it. But once they figure it out that that's where the milk comes from, they'll come to it all throughout the day.
One of these little lambs drinks off of the bucket, and the other one hasn't quite figured it out yet.
Here you go.
So these just took a bottle, but she's going to try to demonstrate. Basically, hold them just like you would as if that was a bottle. Put their face close to that bucket, close to that nipple, and see if they will latch on to it. It's going to be a process. They'll fight you. They won't understand why you're restraining them. They're not going to take to it just super easily.
He's like, I'm not hungry, Mama.
He said, I'm full. I just ate. Sometimes you can even kind of put your fingers in the corner of their mouth to kind of open that mouth up a little bit. until they start chewing on that nipple. Once they start chewing on it a little bit, the milk will drip into their mouth and they realize, hey, that's where food comes from.
Like you want it to be able to, you squeeze it and milk comes out, but you don't want so big of a hole that it just pours out.
So on top of bottle feeding them, putting them on a bucket with milk, we always put creep feed in front of them. As soon as they start nibbling, eating some of this creep feed, they realize what food is, your job's over. You can turn them back out with the other lambs. This one right here is already interested in food, nibbling at it some. Really, what would you say, over 3-4 weeks of age, if they're eating that creep feed, they'll probably do fine without any kind of milk supplementation.
If they're eating enough. They got to be eating half a pound a day in order to start weaning them. They
may not eat, right away. They may just be seeing the others eat it and kind of being curious. So they really have to, when they're pinned up like this, it's easy to monitor how much they're actually eating, opposed to them just kind of in the field when you dump some feed out, they're just nosing around in the feed. So you don't really know if they're eating as much as they're supposed to be eating that way. So when do you typically try to wean these lambs after they've been on a bottle?
So on strictly bottle fed babies, so like they're pinned up without their mama, I'll wean them at 60 days. Some people, if you can get them on a free choice bucket and they're drinking well and growing well, some people can wean them as early as 30 days. If I can get them on a bucket, by a month old, I can usually wean them at 60 days. As long as they're, hitting the creep real hard. They've got to be eating half a pound a day of creep in order to wean them completely off of milk.
We do also offer these lambs hay. Here we feed alfalfa hay. They don't eat much from the beginning, but that roughage, as they eat that, it starts to stimulate their rumen to start working, puts the good bugs, bacteria into that rumen. Basically, it helps transition them from being a nursing animal, something that has to have a liquid diet, to an animal that can graze, eat hay, eat grain. So I'm gonna give these guys just a little handful of hay. Put it right over here in the corner for them. And let's see, should go over there. They are interested in it. They pick around at it. Usually give them both a little handful each day, and the more stuff that's solid that you can feed these guys, the quicker that we can wean them and don't have to give them a bottle or a bucket. So one thing I'll kind of warn you against, when you have a bottle baby, they kind of get to be a pest. They're a big pet. They obviously think you're their mama. So just be prepared for everywhere you walk, everywhere you go. They're going to be under your feet. They're going to be your shadow.
That's another perk of the bucket. They stop thinking you're mama.
Yeah, they go to that bucket and they don't rely as much on people for their food, for their nutrition. But usually a bottle baby is going to be the biggest pet in the herd.
Never bottle feed a ram that you're intending on keeping around, because they lose any fear of people and will severely hurt you. Yep. I've heard of people killed by bottle baby rams because they're not scared of people at all.
They just throw their weight around. They still see you as mama, so they push you around, headbutt you, and it can get dangerous. So just to kind of recap this video, we're bottle feeding 2 lambs that we have, both of them for varying reasons. One, the mama died. The other one, the mama wasn't a great mama. It kept running off and leaving it. Didn't make as much milk as it should because it wasn't constantly nursing that mama. So we pulled them up, and it's a whole lot easier when you have more than one, because they're animals that like to have buddies. So if you pull one up, it's going to stress out, it's going to holler, it's going to scream, it's going to be more than likely not interested in eating because it's going to be so stressed that it's away from the other herd. So in this case, it worked great. We have 2. We can pull them up, monitor them, feed them. Don't have to chase them around to catch them for each feeding. The other thing, relating to bottle feeding animals, if you have goats, we feed these lambs the lamb specific replacer. You can get away with goats on feeding whole milk sometimes. Same process, you know, just read and do your research on how much to feed. As they grow, increase the amount that you're feeding. But in this video, we're talking about lambs. It's fun, I'm not gonna lie. You know, it's cute to have these little babies out here, give them a bottle, you know, multiple times a day. It's a lot of work. They make industrialized, if you've got a big operation, industrialized, basically a milk bar, is what they call it a lot of times, where it's a big holding vat with the milk in it, multiple teats, multiple nipples for them to nurse from. So yeah, we're just small scale. This works great for us. We're just kind of sharing our experiences with y'all. Have any questions about any of it, you know, just comment down below. And I'll post some more stuff as these guys grow. We'll kind of post the process as we go. If anything changes with these guys, or if we get any new babies, I'll try to do a video on any new babies starting out nursing. That's probably, I would say, the hardest part is getting them to learn to take the bottle. Once they take the bottle, it's easy, it's great, but it's persistence. You know, hold them still, hold the bottle to their face, let them learn, let them figure out what that milk is. That's probably the hardest part of bottle feeding any animal. So guys, that wraps up this video. Thanks again for watching. If you stayed with us through the whole video, give us a like and go ahead and do us a favor and subscribe to our channel. The more subscribes you get, the more content we're going to keep putting out for you. And always, guys, we really appreciate you watching, and thanks, and we'll see y'all on the next one.